Hey, Cherie's World Podcast. I am Cherie Johnson, and my co-host, Mr. Courtney Blackman, are here today with Miss Jasika Nicole. That's right, my boo is in the house. We are talking about my fiancé from Punky Brewster. So, stay tuned. You'll get to meet her the way I know her. I miss you, girl.
Oh man.
I haven't seen you in 3 months.
Yes.
And it feels long.
What is time? I've lost my sense of time. I do know it's Friday. That's about all that I know. So it could have been 3 years that I last saw you. It's been tough. I feel like I'm experiencing what many people experienced in the beginning of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. I have not been depressed. I've been angry and I've been scared and I've been stressed, but I've been, for the most part, pretty, good emotionally. And I think now that we're reaching the end of it, it seems like the end. It seems like it's within our sights, but I still don't know when the actual end is. And it's making me feel so restless. And I am really depressed right now.
Oh, well, thank you for not canceling.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? It's not the kind of depression where I can't do stuff. It's just the kind of depression that's like, I'm full of malaise, I'm unmotivated, I'm just ready for something to be different about the world. So this is a joy to get to see your face and to chat with you. So thank you for having me.
Oh my God.
Letting me talk about
You're so beautiful. So I want to start with Punky, and then I want to go, there's a whole career before Cherie. But for me, I want to start with our journey together. What was it like when the producers, or I don't know who approached you, your agent approached you about being Cherie's girlfriend?
Well, I would say there was no approaching. It was just an email in my inbox that said, here's an audition. It's way less exciting than I wish that it was. And I've gotten really good about saying no to auditions that don't suit me, that I'm not interested in, projects that are not written well. I will say no in a heartbeat. I am too old to be playing some crap role in a show that I'm going to be embarrassed about at some point. So I would say initially I was like, Punky Brewster reboot. That's the first time I saw reboot where I was actually excited about it. I guess because it's the first time I was actually an audience member of an original show that's been rebooted. Aww. So it was the first time that it clicked for me, because there have been a lot of reboots over the past several years that I've kind of been, whatever, that one's not for me, no big deal. This was the first time I realized how significant it is to be a part of a world, a TV world, but be a part of the Punky and Cherie multiverse rather. And it's almost like, oh, they grew up at the same time that I've grown up. We just haven't been in touch. So now we get to see each other decades later and just catch up on everything. It's like having a high school reunion, but one that you're excited to attend, because I'm not going to any of my high school reunions.
I didn't go.
Right? But so, I was immediately intrigued and excited. And also, I am an out queer Black woman, and there are not a lot of roles for queer women that come across my plate, my email, my whatever. And so I saw it and I was like, oh, this is so cool, but I'm probably not going to get it because I never get cast as queer roles. This is the first queer role I've had in network television, and I've been out my whole career. So there was a part of me that was excited and then I'm not going to get it. It's probably going to go to a straight person, which is what usually happens. And so the fact that I, auditioned for it and it was really sweet and fun, but then I actually got it was like, well, look at the world, look at the universe. Sometimes you're expecting one thing and you get something that's way better. And so I was really just thrilled to be a part of the show.
why do you think that you don't get queer roles or that they go to straight people? Do you think there's like a stereotype that Hollywood goes for when it comes to?
I personally do, and it's really hard to know because there are not a lot of out actors in Hollywood. So we can't, especially Black women. Like, there was a period of time I was the only Black queer woman on primetime network TV for like years. There just wasn't anybody else except for Wanda Sykes, which that's great because I was in good company, but still. And so I don't really know the reason behind it, but I do have an idea that I think that the people in charge, like the network executives and the producers and the director, they feel like going with a straight actor is safe. It's like it's not all the way queer. So it's like they're throwing you a bone. We got a queer storyline in here, but we're not going to bring queer actors too because they think that it's going to, I don't know, push audience members away or make them uncomfortable. I think that network executives make lots of decisions about what audiences want that are completely off the mark. So, there's this idea that, if people aren't sexy to the straight community, if they know that they're queer or they're not palatable, I honestly can't make my brain work in the way that homophobic brains work. So I couldn't tell you exactly why it is. Right. I just know that straight actors get them all the time, and I don't. And I don't think that I'm untalented.
She is extremely talented.
You don't have to say all that sweetness, but just like for real, it would be one thing if I was like insecure about my work and it was like, oh, maybe I'm just not good enough for it. But I know that's not true. I know that I'm good enough for it. So it's usually stuff that's kind of beyond what I can maybe comprehend because they don't talk about it in the same way that as a Black actor in Hollywood, you don't know about all the roles that you didn't get because you were Black or what they say, in the decision-making rooms about your Blackness or whatever. Having lived as a Black person for so long, you can kind of have an idea of what might be said about you, but you don't know for sure. And I feel like it's the same thing with queerness. I don't know the conversations that people are having, but I see their faces when I mention, my spouse's name. I've seen the energy or felt the energy in a room change when my partner came in to like give me a hug after a show, and I was talking to like all these producers, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, I see that happen." Like that has to have something to do with the kind of roles that I get offered, but I just keep trucking along because I'm always going to be here. And I know that whatever roles that I get, it is still impactful and powerful. Whether it's a big blockbuster film or some smaller kind of show, I know that when people see people like us, people who are women of color, people of color, and then people like me who were queer, they can connect to that. So if one person sees me and says, oh my gosh, I didn't know that you could like be this kind of person and be successful and be living your life happily, then like my work is done. Aww. My work is totally done.
And then you come on a show like with Punky and Cherie and you mention your partner's name and we get all excited.
I would say lots of people do. It's the people who are making decisions and thinking about money that feel uncomfortable with it. But, for the most part, again, Claire's been in my life. We've been together for almost 15 years. So it's just normal to have, them in my life. And if people are into it or not, I could really care less because I'm just going to live my life and be happy.
I love that. I'm sorry, Courtney, go ahead. I ain't going to take over. I mean, she is my girlfriend and everything.
Come on.
Well, let me start with, I got a couple questions on the show. Are we done talking about the show? Or
No, we're never done talking about the show.
Okay, well, I want to skip around because like when you go straight to your Instagram page, you have on there Black Lives Matter and Abolish the Police. And I remember when I first started working with Cherie, I was like, I always try to, as much as I can, keep the censor button on Cherie. So I don't want to get her in. I don't want her.
Censors me too. That's one of the reasons why I love her. She makes me a better person.
Yeah.
Often.
Were you ever like? I mean, obviously you're not worried about it, but abolish the police. That's a strong stance that not everybody is willing to make.
Yeah, I mean, and it's coming from a strong place of us needing to change the way that this society is structured. You know, if it weren't about actual lives being murdered, then then it would feel like, whoa, that's kind of a big thing to say right now. But historically, we have so much history behind the police, behind a racist institution, a police force in this country, and um, I am not interested in being palatable to white people. I just cannot bother myself to try and cater to their sensibilities, because look at where we are. Hundreds of years away from slavery, and still just completely entrenched in the effects of what institutionalized racism and white supremacy has done to our community. And yet we keep rising, and yet we're still resilient, and yet we still create incredible art, and yet we're still so smart and so dedicated to our community. They cannot hold us down, but it's because we have to keep fighting. And so for me, if somebody is uncomfortable with me saying that we need to both defund and hopefully eventually abolish the police, they're not paying attention to facts. They're paying attention to how they feel. They're paying attention to their emotions, but they're not actually looking at the historical records that show that the police force is an oppressive entity against communities of color.
Oh, I mean, I agree.
I know you know. I know you know.
Yeah, I just can't believe that someone with a job like yours would make that stance. Like that's something like I would say, but like I wouldn't. Wow.
Yeah, I guess I don't feel like I have much to lose, because being an actor in Hollywood is a job. It is a job. It's not my personality. It's not my whole life. And I want to keep it a job. I don't ever want to feel like I have to water myself down again to be palatable to people who already don't like me, you know, in a lot of ways, whether they recognize their own, you know, racist or homophobic tendencies or not. I'm already somebody that's a little bit hard to swallow for some people. And so I'm just going to live in that truth. Like, I don't want to like whitewash it, essentially, the way that history has been so whitewashed for us. Like, I want to be honest about where I'm coming from. And the other truth is that I think it's possible to have a good working relationship with somebody who has some fundamentally different beliefs than you do. Like, I'm pretty sure most of the people who were making Punky, who are on the producer side of it, aren't necessarily into abolishing the police, but I could still work with them, you know, like I still showed up and was a professional and did the work that I had to do. But yeah, like I exist outside of Hollywood, and I don't ever want to feel like I owe Hollywood anything, because again, like, if you know your talent and you know what you're offering, then it's not about any extra stuff. Like, I'm going to show up and be professional and do a great job regardless. And I'm also interested in showing my community that I support them and I support their well-being. And the only way that I can do that is to be honest about, you know, my own political beliefs. And you know, people have this idea that, again, it's people who are ignorant. They're not paying attention to any actual facts or information, but they say, oh, to defund or to abolish the police, well, guess everybody's going to get raped now and nothing's going to happen. The truth is that people get raped all the time and nothing happens. The truth is that there are hundreds of thousands of rape kits that have never been documented or turned in to see if, like, the actual perpetrator is in their system, because a lot of people don't believe when they say that they've been raped. Like, it's just, it's so much bigger. And we have to be able to use our imaginations and envision a world that looks different than the one that we have been brought up in. I think that there is a way to have a whole system of people who are mental health advocates, who show up when somebody is experiencing some kind of like mental health crisis. We don't need police showing up with guns to help, you know, somebody who's neurodivergent and is having an episode in a public space. We don't need that. That's why people are getting killed all the time, because the police are taught that the only way to diffuse the situation is with violence and power. And we just know that isn't true. And so I'm hoping that when people go to my Instagram page and they do see abolish and defund the police, that it will make them consider, this person that I see on TV that I respect, whose work that I really like, who I think is talented, is saying this thing that's so different than what I believe. What's to that? What does that mean? Where can I find more information about that? That's my biggest hope.
Wow. I love her, Courtney. Not look, just so you know, when we get together, it's a huge love fest. I love her.
It is.
She's smart. She's talented. You never know what's going to come out of her mouth. And every day, she reminds me of me. It's like looking in a mirror. It's a different conversation. Every time, like we might do a scene and then walk away from each other for 10 minutes. But when we come back, the conversation is totally different and intriguing than what we had when we left each other.
And this is the first time you guys met was on a set? This is the first time you guys met?
Mm-hmm.
The first time we met, she had on a mask and a shield. Mm-hmm. I got to see her face 5 minutes before I got to kiss her.
Oh.
That's right.
Nice.
Literally, right? Can you tell us about that? Yeah. What was it like kissing me, Jasika?
Cherie, what? What is wrong with you? It was fine. I've been kissing women for a long time, women and non-binary people. So for me, it was just a really pretty set of lips to kiss. What was it like kissing me, Cherie?
Amazing. It was like I got to greet you the way I would want to. You know, like I would No, wait. Because like we had to stay 6 feet apart. So when I met her, I wasn't able to even walk up and give her a hug.
Yeah.
And say, hi. Not that I just want to walk up to strangers and like tongue them down, but somebody who you know that you're going to be working in close proximity with her energy is beautiful. She's a ray of light. So I would have loved to walk up and say, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for being. I wasn't really able to do that. Yeah. I found her outside of her trailer, thank God, but it was still mask and shield and we were staying away from each other.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a really weird environment. And that's why I kind of asked her, like, what was it like kiss? Because literally she saw me for 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah, I truly did. That was the first time that I saw the bottom half of your face, like from when you were a little girl. Like, wow. I know, it was so bizarre. And that's the other thing is that when you join a show, you're kind of joining somebody's family. They're inviting you into their family. And so those first few days on set that's your opportunity to make relationships with people and get to know them and learn about them. And I was so thankful that I was working, but COVID really stripped that away from all of us, I think, on the show. I do think that we formed our relationships, but it just took a long time because we could not hear. I could not hear what anybody was saying because the face shields would bounce your voice back. And then you couldn't read lips like you normally do when you can't hear very well because they were covered up with the mask. And so for the first 3 or 4 days that we were together, I was just nodding my head a lot and raising my eyebrows because I didn't know what anybody was saying to me. And I was trying to emote as much as possible. I would come home with headaches from going like that all day long with people to let them know I was listening and trying to engage with them. Yeah. It was just exhausting in a way that I've never experienced being on a set before.
I kept telling her, I'm smiling at you.
Yeah.
We love Jasika. Soleil and I have had many conversations about how Jasika came in, and it's like, we don't really remember a time when you were never there.
That's a huge compliment. Thank you so much. No, thank you.
Okay, so you can go on.
Yes.
You can get off Punky now because I know he's got many.
I do got 2 more Punky questions. What did both of you all think of the and can we talk about the specific scenes or?
Yeah.
Episode? Okay.
I think the spoiler time is over.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's out. Yeah.
What did both of you all think of the engagement episode when you guys both proposed to each other?
Let me tell you, the most beautiful moment for me was not even on camera. I don't even know if Jasika remembers it, but Jasika walked in the door and they had called cut and we had to do it again. Jasika looked at me and said, "What else do you need from me?" What a dream. Are you kidding? What? Nothing. I need you.
For me, that scene was, it was interesting because I had actually auditioned with that scene.
Oh.
And that scene and another scene. And so my partner and I, they always they'll do the reader version. They'll read with me for my auditions on the other side of the camera. And we've been married for a long time, but we didn't have a wedding or anything like that because I'm just not into weddings. So we got married with like one witness and our, the person who does it, who makes it legit, right in our living room. It was cool, low key, not a big deal. But there's no like romantic involvement or excitement when you together make the decision to get married. And again, I wouldn't take it back. I don't regret it, but there's something that's very, sweet and lovely when you see people get married and have an engagement, or you see it, portrayed in a movie or a TV show or something. And so there was this part of us that was like, that got to kind of live through an engagement when we were actually auditioning for it, which was unexpected, but so fun. And so when I got to do it on stage with Cherie, it was just like, it's like getting to live different versions of your life, honestly. And that only happens when you can really personally connect to a character, which, again, this is the first queer role that I've ever played on network television. So I had a different kind of connection to it than any other role that I've ever played. And it was just lovely and sweet in all the ways that you would want an engagement to be. I will also say, though, that there was, Cherie and Soleil have a very special bond because they've known each other for so long, and not only known each other for so long, but went through a lot of life together at a very young age. There's not a lot of people who have the exact kind of story that y'all have shared together. And so you could even tell in the way that the scene was written was that Punky was supposed to be a very integral part of this engagement. And there were a lot of moments that Cherie and Soleil had together on set where it felt like it felt like a family was expanding as opposed to like two people uniting. It felt like, oh my gosh, this family unit that they have has gotten bigger. Lauren is being invited into the fold too. And I just thought that was sweet. You don't really get to see, romance kind of depicted in a way that's so inclusive of other people. And that's what the Punky Brewster show is about. It's about chosen family. It's about surrounding yourself with the people that uplift you and support you, encourage you, and kind of eschewing the idea that family has to look nuclear or has to be traditional. It doesn't have to be any of those things if you're getting everything that you need out of it. And so I felt like this particular scene was just like a little bit of icing on that whole Punky reboot cake.
Can I look? This is my last. Well, maybe not my last, but I don't know if me and Cherie been working together since 2019, and
wow,
yeah, she didn't tell me none of this. So like, I found out about all of this when everybody else found out. So look, me and her, we do a podcast where we interview people. I actually watch her interviews, and I actually listen to a lot of her interviews. And so when she said that when they told her about her role, she says, you got to understand that a lot of men have grew up attracted to me. So
sure. So
I need, if I'm going to be this role, I need a beautiful woman. And voila, they picked you. How does that make you feel? I need a beautiful woman to be my.
I did. I told him, bring me a baddie. I said, because I didn't want them to do the stereotypical, we have one who's a femme, one who's a stud. I didn't want the stereotypes, and I needed to.
It's so, okay. I'm caught up. I guess it makes me feel good because Cherie got what she wanted, which makes me
Hey.
happy. I will also say though that it is very rare to see butch women depicted in television. They don't like seeing masculine women on TV. They are way more comfortable with like feminized gay women. That again, that's like a safe thing for them. Oh, take a look back in your mind of all the all the four black queer relationships that you've seen in TV. There just aren't that many of them. But I'll tell you what, there it's yeah, having masculine women on TV, it makes them extremely uncomfortable. And so that is something that I hope will change. I think it all feeds into the same thing. The more that we normalize, again, what a non-traditional relationship looks like in television and film, the more opportunities we have to show like how vast our queer community is, how vast our Black community is. It's the same thing. Like we're finally coming out of a period where we only see Black people in these kind of ways. And that is one of the reasons that Insecure was such a big deal, because it was showing Black women who weren't like necessarily all powerful and like I'm a lawyer. Like, yes, we have those Black women, but we also have like Black women who are trying to figure it out and looking for love in absolutely all the wrong places and making crappy decisions. Like I can name you 1,700 different ways there are to be white based on what I have seen on television. But we Black people don't get 1,700 different ways to be Black. Like it's not a part of mainstream. And that's because Black people aren't allowed to be making all these decisions. It's always still white people who are in charge and putting on TV, again, what they think audiences want to see. So I feel like all of this is a step in the right direction. But to be able to like evolve our understanding of what a community looks and feels like, instead of having it be this very flat thing, like, you know, this is what it looks like to be gay, or this is what it looks like to be trans, or whatever it is. I want to expand that. Like it's such a vast community. All of our marginalized communities are so vast. I want to see every single side of them in television and in movies and in books.
So will you be writing some books?
Lord knows. I have no idea. I have no idea. I'd love to write, but I don't know. We'll see.
Courtney, I don't know if you know this, but I can almost guarantee you that the shirt that she has on, she made. She makes all of her own clothes, including her shoes.
Yeah, and I saw it says she makes her undergarments too. Like, man.
Really? I didn't know that much, Courtney. See, now really? You're making LeBron undies and stuff too?
Oh, I've been making bras and underwear for so long. I can make anything.
Wow. I'm telling you, she can also sing.
Oh God.
Not J-Lo, but that girl can sing, Courtney. She made me fall in love with her again in the treehouse.
Oh, that's right.
I happened to be running my mouth. No disrespect to Claire at all, but I happened to be running my mouth, and I said that I love Claire too. That I was in love with Hamilton. And while we were standing there, all of a sudden there were two voices. And I was like, are you kidding me? It was Jasika and Lauren, the little girl.
Lauren. Yeah.
And they were serenading. They weren't really serenading me.
We were serenading you. You're welcome. Always you.
They were serenading me. And I was like, this is the most wonderful experience of my life, because they
We're just trying to keep ourselves entertained on that set. Yeah, that's all I will say.
What was it like working for or with Shonda Rhimes?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, she told me that she was a fan of Fringe, and that's why she brought me onto the show. And that's a huge deal. But I was also like, you watch TV? Like, woman, you are so busy. How do you have time to watch like all these random shows on television? And honestly, I think I got to spend maybe 5 minutes with her or something, because she had three. I think there were 3 shows on at that time, because I don't know if Murder was already on TV at that point. But anyway, she was very busy, and I was just really excited to be able to work with that cast, and particularly Guillermo, who I think is just so talented and so fun. And I didn't really get to work with Kerry, but she was so nice. Like, she made a point to come up to me and say, thank you so much for being here. And you always know what kind of experience you're going to have on a show if the number one takes the time to come and say hi to you. I've had so many experiences on both sides of them. And when you have a mean number one, the whole thing is going to be off. It's just never going to work. And so Kerry was lovely. And then obviously on this show, our number one, Soleil, is like incredibly inviting and warm and sweet. And that means a lot, because I am an observer. I just like to show up and see what the mood is like. I don't come in like dancing and everything. I gotta be chill first and see how people are going to be operating. And those are the things that you pay attention to. Like how does the number one, the number two, the number three, how are they treating their crew members? What are the dynamics between the producers and all the actors of the show? It can be like walking into like, I don't know, a forest fire sometimes when you show up to a show. And that's when you're like, thank God I'm just a guest star. I'm only going to be here for 3 days and then I'm out. I don't have to deal with any of y'all's mess again. But it was not like that on Punky. And it was not like that on Scandal. Although I wouldn't say that everybody was lovely and friendly, but you know who to avoid, you know who to watch out for. You know who's going to make you feel comfortable and safe, and who is absolutely not going to do that. You know that pretty early on if you're good with following your gut, which hopefully in Hollywood you are, because you're always being thrown into these situations with a lot of people and a lot of different dynamics. And if you want to stay on your game, you have to be like very, very sure and confident in who you are and what you have to deliver, so that you don't let any of that other drama affect what work that you're able to do on that set.
Absolutely. I hope that Punky is like joining a wild party that you'll know.
I think it was as much as it could be with COVID, like I think any other show would have been probably miserable to be a part of. I was so glad to be on a funny show, on a show that was a sitcom that was supposed to be lighthearted and fun, because working during a pandemic, like, no, I don't like it. I do not.
Speaking of Fringe, I don't want to forget about that, because I posted a picture of you, Soleil, and I when we were standing in court.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Getting inboxes like crazy. They were like, I love her from Fringe. Such that's my girl. So, and that's the reaction I was praying that we would have. But yeah, tell us about your role in the experience on Fringe.
That was a tough experience. It was a real tough experience for me. And it was my first big TV role that like actually went to series. And so I was so excited. When you have been auditioning for a long time, I'd moved to New York. I thought I was going to be in Broadway musicals, and I ended up doing more TV and film and you feel yourself climbing up, and you're like, wow, it's happening. Like I am developing a career right now. This is so wonderful. And you finally get the role that you're like, this is what I've been working towards for, the past 2 or 3 years. And then you realize that it's, sometimes the dreams that you're working so hard for aren't actually the dreams that you wanted to have. And there was a lot of mistreatment of a lot of people, but I can only speak on behalf of myself. I have so many terrible stories from being on that show, but I will say day one, it started where they wouldn't give me rides to work. Every other series regular in the show was getting rides to work. Now, mind you, I'm the only Black woman on the show, only one of 2 Black people and the only Black woman. And right off the bat, you're like, oh, I'm getting treated differently. Maybe it's an accident. Maybe we just got to like work some stuff out. and it wasn't. And I had to fight for myself and advocate for myself that whole freaking show. And, with all this stuff coming out about other actors of color who have been a part of that specific production team who brought Fringe to life, Nicole Bahari, she didn't have a good time on the show that she was on with them. John Boyega, he's come out to say like he hasn't been treated very well and that the producers haven't been standing up for him and trying to call out all the racist stuff that the fandom is throwing at him. Like they just let it happen. And I guess the good thing about it is that I did learn how to stand up for myself. I learned how to say no. It took me years to be able to do it and say, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to, or it doesn't suit me, or for whatever reason, like, no. But nobody should have to go through mistreatment and being gaslit for years. Like I was pretty miserable on that show. And you know what? Here's what has happened is at the end of it, when, I talk about it publicly and people who I worked with are like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were going through that, blah, blah, blah. Because I am a professional and it was my job to show up and do my work. So I always will. And, this is to your point that you made earlier, Courtney. It has been a little bit scary to come out and be honest about my experiences on that show because it's a sci-fi show. There's a lot of white men who are big fans of it. So if you say something that kind of tarnishes their image of their favorite sci-fi TV show, they come at you real hard with a lot of hate because their love of the show is more important than a real person's lived experience of that show. And it took me a while to say, their needs are not more important than my experience. I'm just going to be open and honest about it because I can't read another Black woman's story about how she was mistreated as a journalist at KCRW or how she went through this terrible ordeal as the only Black person in this situation or this industry. I can't read their stories and say, oh my gosh, I'm standing in solidarity with you. You deserve better, and not be honest about the shit that I went through too. Like it just, you can't really have both. And so I know that nothing will change if we're not honest about the experiences that we've had, the microaggressions that we face, the racism that we face, the misogyny, the homophobia, whatever it is. If we're not vocal about it, there's no way it's going to change. And that's what they are banking on. They want to keep us silent because then they don't have to do anything differently. But then what happens is you end up holding that shame yourself and going through the world, which I did after Fringe was over for years. It was like getting out of an abusive relationship. And I kept thinking about, man, maybe I should have done this, or I should have spoken up more about this, or I started thinking that I wasn't good enough and that's why I was being mistreated. And I know that that's not true. And I'm sure that's because of therapy. I've been in therapy and I'm working through all my stuff, but I just rebuke the idea that women and people of color and Black people specifically have to kind of participate in these respectability politics so that they can keep moving up in the world. I don't think that we should have to. I think that we should be able to keep moving up and also be honest and say, y'all need to change this and y'all should have done this and you didn't. Because the people coming up underneath us, all they're going to do is have to keep working like twice as hard because we went through it and we didn't say anything. So if I'm saying something now, hopefully that means all these people coming up behind us are going to have a slightly easier go of it. That's the hope, at least. That's what I hope.
My segues are not good. That was serious. That was deep. But my wife and my best friend, they know you from The Good Doctor.
Oh, yeah. Uh-oh. Yes.
Uh-oh.
You know what? No, I had an amazing time on that show. I loved working with Freddie. I loved my character. And here is something that I've realized. So that was the Good Doctor's the first time that I played the romantic lead in like television or film. It was a huge deal for me because again, I am a Black queer woman. You do not see us on shows with a lot of white people. Like usually you'll see us on Black TV shows as that, but you don't really see us integrated into like, typically white shows that have a mostly white audience, membership or whatever you want to call it. So I was absolutely thrilled. I just loved what they wrote for me, and I was so excited to be a part of it. And I started getting a lot of hate mail as soon as I started having, yes, a romantic relationship with the white lead. Girl, what do you think?
Oh.
So here is a connection that I made, and I will make this brief. On Fringe, I played an FBI agent, very, very smart, but who is basically saddled with being a babysitter of this really brilliant doctor who's kind of like not all there. He kind of goes in and out of lucidity, and he's got some mental health issues. And so instead of being an FBI agent, she's like taking care of him. And so you don't ever get to know her. I see the faces you're making, Cherie, and I agree. The character's name is Astrid. You never know any backstory about her. You don't know if she dates anybody. You don't know where she lives. She has no life outside of this relationship with these people and this quote unquote mad scientist doctor taking care of him. So you could call her a magical Negro. Like that's the kind of term for the person who shows up, always has the right answers, doesn't really have much of their own opinion or what's going on with them. They're just there to serve the white characters. So finally on The Good Doctor, I get to play this badass, cool pathologist lady. She's smart. She knows what she wants. She's beautiful. She's got great style. And she's in a relationship with a neurodivergent person. And so they're having to like really pay attention step by step to their relationship so that it can move forward because both of them are a bit out of their comfort zone. And the people that wrote me hate mail about this character and hated this character so much versus this character I played, I never read one bad thing about Astrid on Fringe. Everybody loved her. Fan favorite at the Comic-Cons constantly. Like just everybody loved her because she didn't challenge them. Because she had no opinion. She had no depth. She was only there in service to the white people. So now when I play this Black woman who is not in service to the white characters around her, who has her own opinions and her own life and her own ideas about how things are going to be, that's when I start getting like the more in-depth a Black character is written, the less white audiences want to have anything to do with her. And that it has been such a difficult pill to swallow to recognize that this is the industry I have chosen to be a part of when it needs so much work. It just needs so much work. So, and on top of that, The Good Doctor let me go after the third season. So essentially the character was brought on to help this person that she's dating like have his first romantic experiences. And she like, they have sex together and it's the first time he's ever had sex. And he has all these firsts with her. And then he realizes he's actually in love with the white girl that he knew from a couple of seasons back. And you know what? That happens. But then they let the character go. And that was what was so heartbreaking to me. Like, why can't she have a life outside of her romantic relationship with this person? Like, there's so much more to mine there. And it just makes you feel like you were brought on to be used. Like, you're the essence of you, the Blackness, like all these things that made this relationship so novel weren't actually enough to make it foundationally sound. And so they just completely let her go. And I am just constantly disappointed by,
well, honey,
Hollywood.
Thank God they let you go because Cherie don't believe in divorce. Kerry did not wait till she was 45 to propose.
Right.
To propose to somebody.
So you take your characters very serious then, huh? You really look into, you just don't recite a script. You actually look into the whole character and like see beyond see what's next and all that. You really take it serious, huh?
I would like to think that as an actor, it's my job to portray a character in as believable way as I can. And the only way I can do that is to connect with that character and to make her make sense. And even if we have, different histories and different backgrounds, we got to find a way to intersect where I can say, oh yeah, I can embody this character. And the only way I know how to do that is to take it seriously. It feels like the least that I can do after somebody has sat down to write this damn thing and producers have come in to like create a world around it and all this money has gone into it. And so it feels like this is my job. Like, how do I bring this person to life and invigorate this character and make audiences want to see her? And again, that is why I don't want to take any roles that don't fit me or that don't make sense to me, because I want to feel good about myself and what I'm putting out in the world at the end of the day, because Hollywood is a fickle beast, and she'll, Cherie, she'll leave you hanging.
She makes us feel bad. She gets on the This girl knows everybody's lines, every beat. She don't have no script in her hand. So later I'd be like, oh, we were supposed to be learning our lines. we were playing.
No, absolutely no. Let me say this, that when you come on as a recurring guest star, I feel like I have to prove something to the people and let them know that they brought me there for a reason and that I'm going to, you know what I mean? So like Soleil and Cherie have a lot of lines. I don't have as many lines as them. So if I don't come to set knowing my shit, then like, girl, get out of here. Go on.
I don't have a lot of lines either. let's be real.
What?
I have a lot of scenes,
no.
But I'm so busy playing. I mean, I get my lines before it's time to say action.
Oh, please. Cherie is really painting herself as this like fly by the seat of her pants actor. Clearly, she is so learned and experienced that she can, you know what I mean? Like, we just have a different...
I am having a lot of fun.
And that reads. And I feel like that is more important because you can tell that your relationship and your rapport with the other characters is like so easy and so natural, and you're very easy to watch because of that. So obviously people will take that over knowing every character's lines any day of the week. But I got to prove something. I'm trying not to get fired. Okay. So I have to show up and know what's going on.
We're a family. Cherie doesn't believe in divorce. Like you proposed, and I got witnesses. So Soleil is not letting my fiance walk out. I got witnesses.
It's all true.
I mean, just having this conversation with you so far. I mean, that lawyer role that you're playing. I mean, it's like you. It's like something behind that. Like you really got that in. Like I could see you in the courtroom. Like. They ain't fearing you. I would like you representing me. God forbid if I ever got in. I'm serious. Like,
oh my God.
Use a saw. Like she does things with her hands. Yeah. They brought on, I don't even know what it's called. What was it? A miter saw?
A miter saw. Good job, Cherie.
Now what's that?
She was like, oh, all you got to do is go like this and I was like, you know how to use that thing?
Oh my God. A miter saw is a saw that you can use to cut like long pieces of material, like long, thin pieces. It's the kind that's got a handle and you pull it and it starts and you push it down like that and it goes into the wood. And so the props guy came up to me and he was like, so this is a miter saw and he's about to tell me how to use it. And I was like, I have one. We can skip that part and just tell me when you want me to do it. But it's cool. Don't worry about it.
And I was like... I ain't touching it, bro. I don't know. She really is my balance, and I'm so thankful, Jasika, to have you.
Oh, thank you, Cherie.
I feel bad because I feel like I just took all the questions. I know the people that watch this show want to see Cherie and you guys talk. You guys got 10 minutes. Go ahead and get it in. I could just ask like a bunch of nerdy questions all day. So
no,
go ahead. You guys get it in.
Jasika, one of the things that they've been saying is, I didn't know that Cherie was a lesbian. And I said, Cherie's not a lesbian. Cherie is queer.
Tell them, Cherie.
Yeah, so can you explain? And then they're like, well, I thought queer was bad. And I'm like, no.
It's this is not a perfect analogy, but in the way that, and I will say for the purposes of this show, the N word is bad when some people use it, but it is a word that has been reclaimed by the Black community in a way to say, you don't get to hold us down with a word. We'll use that damn word like on our own. You don't get to be the king of vocabulary for us. So queer, the word queer is a little bit like that in whereas in one particular time in history, it was used as a derogatory term. But even then, that is arguable because, like, you can use any word to hurt somebody, whether or not the definition of that word is actually negative. So queer, the actual definition of it means weird or different. And people would use that word, to hurl. But a lot of people are like, yes, I am different. I am outside of the norm. Mm-hmm. And so, for me, when I learned that word, and I also understand that it is a privilege to have never had that word used against me as a slur. I feel like it was used as a slur decades ago, like between I don't know how early, but definitely up into like the 50s and 60s and maybe 70s. And at some point it started being reclaimed and people were like, yes, I am queer. You can't hurt, just because you use that word doesn't mean that you're making me feel bad about myself. And so when you look at the all the letters in LGBTQIA plus, the queer, the Q in those letters stands for queer and questioning. And I just love that so much. Like, talk about an inclusive community that says, you might not know exactly what you are, but if you even think that this might be the community for you, you belong here. You get your own letter, have fun with it. Congratulations. So, when I learned what queer meant, it's so powerful to me in a lot of different ways because number one, it doesn't actually tell you all that much about me. It tells you that I'm not straight, but it doesn't. Queer is an umbrella term, and it can be a lot of different things in there. And the truth is that not everybody deserves to know the details of what my romantic or emotional life looks like. And so when I say queer, that might leave people guessing what it means. And we can have a conversation about it if I'm interested in having a conversation about it with you. But otherwise, that's all that you get, And so, yeah. And also I like that queer makes it feel like a family in a way that's saying lesbian doesn't. Although obviously lesbian is a completely acceptable term. If that is how you identify, that's all good. Mm-hmm. But you can be queer and be trans, like your queerness can be the fact that you're trans, or it can be your non-binariness, or it can be your intersexuality, or it could be your asexuality. Like, it just means all these different things. And what it does is it makes it feel like we're stronger when we're all holding hands together under this big letter Q than we are individually as this person, this person, this person. And so it's really just about what makes an individual feel comfortable. Like, I don't think there's any word that somebody shouldn't use if that's how they want to identify. And also it can change. And that's another great thing about being queer and identifying as queer is that you can try other stuff out. You can experiment and say, oh, what does this feel like? How does this feel? I don't know. Let me see. But still feel like you're under the safety of this big community that is just wanting to support you.
I like queer. I don't like labels.
Mm-hmm. Well, queer feels like an anti-label in a lot know ways. So that makes sense. Yeah, like absolutely.
Jasika, what's the dumbest thing a man ever said to you? And I think I kind of know, but what's the dumbest thing a man ever said to you? Like if they're trying to approach you or not knowing that,
I'm trying to think about the last time I talked to a man. Oh. Like literally because of the pandemic, like I'm like...
Well, what about your DMs? You don't get them in your DMs because they are my DMs all day.
Oh my God. I do not, because I read them for filth. When they come into my DMs with a damn, I don't know if I can cuss on this podcast, but with like a tongue emoji and some like juice squirting or whatever. I'm like, you know what? This has been acceptable for far too long. It is not okay to come up to just anybody that you want to and say anything to them, because would you do it in real life? And a lot of people feel like there is this anonymity with social media so that they can get away with saying stuff. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're blocked. Never again. Don't you come here. And if they come into my comments on my post, I also read them for filth, and they usually unfollow me. So I actually don't get, I've gotten one dick pic in my whole life. Like I'm serious. It's amazing. Watch me like get so many.
I get so many. I talk about them. I read them for filth. I block them, and they come back.
And you still get them?
And I can identify it. That's how I know it's the same person, because I'm like, yo, that's that same little mode it was on. And it's never anything impressive. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, that's that same little mode it was on that one last week. That's the same dude.
Oh my God. See, I feel like you have a different experience having grown up in the industry, and like Courtney said, so many people being like, that's my girl, and having lots of lovely dreams about you at night. And I feel like they think, because they feel like they know you, they think that gives them the power to talk to you any kind of way. And it's just, oh, it's so filthy. And I'm so sorry. Just sorry.
I'm so sorry too, but I just was hoping I passed some of that along to you. That sounds so wrong, but
oh my God.
I need to start reading them for filth more or something. So
yeah,
alone, because I get weird stuff. I get like, I want to suck your toes in the morning and then wash, paint them orange. Like a guy, Jason, I'm calling you out. Don't send me that stuff no more, because I keep blocking you, Jason, but you keep coming back.
What is wrong? Listen, the whole foot thing, I do get a lot of feet stuff. And I will say I think that guys think that they can get away with foot stuff because it's not a typically sexualized body part. So it's not like, a boob or a butt cheek or something. So they think they can say anything about your toes. And I'm like, no, if it's sexualized, I don't want it. I do not want it. It doesn't matter if it's my ring finger or a strand of my hair or my earlobe. It doesn't matter. You are not allowed to treat me, a stranger on the internet, and talk to me any kind of way that you want to.
Yes, leave my feet alone. It is
leave Cherie's feet alone.
Do you have groupies?
Yes.
I bet Cherie does. I do not have.
I was like, yes.
Cherie does. My groupies are like sewing groupies. They're like maker groupies. They're like into fabric. That's my people, and I will take them. I love it. It's so great.
I just want you guys to start checking out everything that you see her wear, because I literally, if I didn't see her in the process of making these things, I'd be like, no. But like one day you see this little ball of cotton, and the next day she's like,
so you did that like while you were in the trailer or stuff? You were sewing?
Oh yeah, I actually brought my sewing machine to the trailer because I have a travel sewing machine. Because Cherie knows we were spending some hours. We were putting in hours of not doing anything in those trailers. Wow. So I was like, well, what am I going to do? Like, there's only so many books I can read. I'm gonna make stuff. So I brought my little sewing machine and my fabric, and I made a couple of things. And I also brought my knitting, which is like a constant thing. I'm always working on knitting stuff. So not
only that, but she does pottery too. She even made.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, actually. I'm putting all these, I'm mailing out all these boxes today because I did a fundraiser yesterday for this organization called SELA that is in Los Angeles. And they work to provide like resources and help and food and showers to the unhoused community in LA, which, as you know, was already bad, but with COVID, with the pandemic, is just like really, really awful. And people who own property in these nice, rich little neighborhoods that we live in think that that like homeless people should never be in their face. They don't want to see them. And it's like, where do you want them to go? If you don't provide housing for them, where are they supposed to use the bathroom? Like, they're like, they shit on the sidewalk and there's trash everywhere. They're human bodies. Like, they still need the things that a human body needs. And we need to help them get to a better place because the government is not providing assistance for them as they should be doing. Anyway, long story short, I did a fundraiser and I raised $1,100 yesterday. I sold pieces of my pottery and I donated all the proceeds to Sela. I'm so excited. It was very successful.
Tell me, when you do it again, will you let me know?
I will absolutely let you know. I'll absolutely let you know. It was really fun. Yes, you did.
And her stuff is beautiful, and I'm not just saying that because she's here. Like, we
You're
talked
sweet.
about it behind her back, and we were like, "Can you believe she made this? Can you believe?"
You're so sweet. Oh my gosh, I appreciate you.
Oh, she's perfect. Do you know I said your name wrong the other day?
Did you?
Yeah, I said Jasika Lynn because my daughter is Rhythm Lynn.
That's cute. I like that.
I was gonna say, I mixed your name up with my daughter's, and I was like, wait a minute, that's not her name. Her name is Jasika Nicole.
That is so cute. You can call me Jasika Lynn, though. Also, I'd like to say that Cherie's the only person whose name I've been able to correct for other people. Because they keep calling her Cherie. I even had to correct it on an interview I did the other day on TV. And they were like, Cherie. And I was like, why can't y'all read, number one? And number two, that's not how you say it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's crazy. That's actually how me and Cherie met, because the person I was interviewing on another show kept saying, I did a scene with Cherie. And I was like,
are you serious?
And I said, who is Cherie? And she was like, Darius, who did Cherie play? It's like, oh, she played Maxine. I'm like, that's Cherie. I said it.
That's Cherie.
Like, I know who that is. I didn't know who Cherie was.
The crazy thing is we were on the set. My character's name is Cherie. And some people kept saying, and I still feel bad about the way I corrected the one guy who had been saying my name right for weeks. And then I don't know what came out.
And then started saying it wrong?
He's something Cherie, and who are you talking to? My name. I didn't mean for it to be like a diva moment. I was really pleased, but the set kind of got quiet, and I think people didn't know like where my energy was.
Yeah.
You remember? I was joking. I was just like, who are you talking to? My name is Cherie.
But that is hysterical to me. I love it so much. Like, no, really, who are you talking to? Because I've never met a Jasika in my life. Is she on this set? Because, wow, she's going to be a first for me. Jasika?
Through my shield and my mask a few times, I was going,
who are you talking to?
I was like, her name is Jasika.
Oh, my gosh. Oh my! I just never imagined that you would also have to go through name pronunciation stuff, because I feel like your name is pretty obvious, but it don't matter. It just happens. So
gotta love her. Thank you, Boo Boos, for coming and playing with me.
This was great. Thank y'all so much, Courtney. You're lovely. It's such a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, thank you. Wow, thank you.
Absolutely,
nice
you're wonderful.
I'm a big fan too. Yeah, I can't wait to see what's next on season 2.
Me too. I really appreciate that.
The last episode was like, okay, it's a lot of things was left hanging.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
We need some answers, so it got to come back.
Yes, I agree. I love it when shows do that, when they give you something to be interested in instead of like wrap it up in a bow. Right. You don't need no bows. Yeah. All right.
I actually cried when I watched it, Jasika. I didn't realize that. I'm so, Soleil and I were just being us. I didn't realize that when we exited and came into the kitchen to see you guys, we held hands, but I think I just grabbed her hand because that's what.
Oh, that's so cute.
And when I saw it, I cried like a little fool. I was like, oh, Jasika knows, Courtney, I cried all the time, like probably every other day.
I'm predicting they're going to announce season 2 and season 3 at the same time.
Oh, big words, Courtney.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Well, if it does, I'm coming back on the show.
Yeah.
Yes, please. And you know what? When you work on something else, you have anything that you want to promote or like the fundraiser that you did, please let us know. Come back.
Okay,
Make a damn video without us and we're going to post it anyway.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you so much, Cherie. I love you.
I love you too. I miss you. And I will see
miss you too.
I'm claiming.
I will see you soon. I will see you soon. We're putting it into the universe.
No doubt.
Hey, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It is the official Cherie Johnson. That way you never miss one of our Cherie's World podcasts.